She didn't scream at her dad. She didn't make a scene at Christmas. She didn't send a long, angry text. She waited for Easter, and she made one very specific guest selection. This is Maya's story. Maya's parents had been married for over 20 years. Not a perfect marriage, no marriage is, but a real one. The kind built on shared history, inside jokes that go back decades, the particular comfort of knowing someone so completely that you stop having to explain yourself. Her mother had put her career on hold twice for the family, had been the one who showed up to every school event, every difficult conversation, every moment that required someone to just be there. She was, by every measure, a devoted partner and parent. Then her dad met someone at work, someone significantly younger, someone, as Maya puts it, closer to her own age than to her father's. He left her mother for this woman within months of meeting her. No long conversation about it, no real attempt to work through whatever he said wasn't working. Just a decision, handed down, that 20+ years was apparently not enough to warrant more than a few difficult conversations before he walked out the door. Maya watched her mother try to put herself back together. The practical things first: finances, the house, the logistics of dismantling a shared life. Then the harder things, rediscovering who she was outside of a marriage she'd built her adult life around. It took a long time, and Maya watched every step of it from close range, while also being expected to attend family dinners with her father and his new girlfriend and behave as though everything was perfectly fine. She did it. For almost a year, she did it. Smiled at the right moments, asked polite questions, kept the peace the way the family seemed to need her to. But she was paying attention, and she was thinking. The family had a tradition of Easter dinner together. Big gathering. Grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, the whole extended network. Everyone at the same table, same house, same annual rhythm that had been running for as long as Maya could remember. Including, now, her father and his new girlfriend. Because apparently, that's what keeping things civil looked like in practice. Pretending the new girlfriend was just a normal addition to a family gathering. Smiling warmly, asking about her job, treating the whole arrangement as though it hadn't come at enormous cost to the woman who used to sit at the head of that table. Maya had been doing it. She'd been doing it for almost a year. Then she met someone, a perfectly lovely man. We'll call him Richard. Intelligent, funny, interesting to talk to, genuinely good company. Also significantly older than her. Considerably closer to her father's age than to her own. She thought about it for a while, turned the idea over, considered whether it was petty, whether it was worth it, whether it would make things worse. Then she thought about her mother laughing, about what it would feel like to watch her father sit across a table from an age gap and have to smile through it, the way the rest of the family had been doing for a year. She mentioned to her father she'd be bringing a guest to Easter. He said, "Great, looking forward to meeting him." He had no idea what was coming. She arrived with Richard, and the moment her father saw him, really saw him, registered his age, registered what was happening, she says she watched something shift behind his eyes. Not anger, not immediately, more like the specific discomfort of someone who has just understood a joke at their own expense and isn't sure yet how to respond to it. Richard was, as expected, perfectly charming, complimented the food, asked thoughtful questions about people's lives, made easy conversation with aunts and uncles who seemed to enjoy him genuinely without stopping to do the math. Her father was doing the math. Across the table, Maya watched him process it in real time. The glances between her father and his girlfriend, the slightly too long pause before he reached for the bread, the careful, measured way he was holding his face very still. She kept her own expression completely neutral, smiled when appropriate, passed the potatoes, asked her grandmother about her garden. At one point during dinner, her father pulled her aside quietly, asked if she was serious about Richard, asked if she'd thought carefully about the age difference. Maya smiled at him, said she was really enjoying getting to know him, said Richard was wonderful company. She didn't say anything else. She didn't need to. The point had already been made, clearly and completely, without a single word of confrontation. Her father called her 2 days after Easter, said he'd been thinking about the dinner, said he was concerned, said the age gap with Richard seemed significant, and he hoped she was making thoughtful decisions about who she was spending her time with. Maya says she let him finish, let him say the whole thing, and then she was quiet for a moment. And then she said, very calmly, "I learned from the best, Dad." He didn't respond for a long moment. She says she didn't say it with anger. She wasn't shaking, wasn't crying, wasn't trying to wound him. It was more like clarity, like a sentence that had been sitting quietly inside her for a year, waiting for exactly the right moment to be spoken out loud. She says the silence on his end of the phone lasted long enough that she wondered if the call had dropped. Then he said he thought she was making a point. She said maybe she was. He said he didn't think it was fair. She said she'd think about that. They said goodbye and hung up. In the days that followed, her father sent a few texts, said he felt she was punishing him, said he'd moved on and he wished she could too, said bringing Richard to Easter felt passive-aggressive and he hoped they could talk about it properly. Maya says she thought carefully about how to respond, and then she wrote back and said she cared about him. She was genuinely glad he'd found someone who made him happy. She just also hoped he could extend her the same respect when it came to her own choices, including who she brought to family dinners. He didn't have much to say to that. Her mother found out what had happened from one of the cousins who'd been at Easter dinner. Maya hadn't told her, hadn't wanted to make her mother feel like a prop in someone else's point. But when she heard, Maya says her mother laughed. Not a polite laugh, a real one. The kind that comes from somewhere deep and surprised, like a door opening in a room that's been shut for a long time. Maya says that laugh was worth more than anything else that came out of that Easter dinner. She says she didn't do it for her mother, she did it for herself, but knowing it gave her mother even one moment of genuine laughter in what had been a very hard year, that meant something she hadn't expected. Maya and her date are still seeing each other. Whether that was always the plan or whether something real developed, she doesn't say. Either way, she doesn't regret it. She says she's not interested in punishing her father forever. She's not carrying anger into every family gathering for the rest of her life. But she did want him to feel, just once, what it looked like from the outside. To sit across the table from an age gap and have to smile through it. She says the message wasn't, "I hate you." It was something more specific than that. It was, "I see exactly what you did, and so does everyone else at this table." If you've ever wanted to make a point without saying a single word, Maya's Easter dinner is proof that sometimes the most powerful statement is the one you never actually have to make out loud. This was a dramatized story inspired by real experiences shared online. If it got to you, subscribe for more, and let us know in the comments, was Maya the asshole, or was this completely fair?